Do you want to take your retirement plan from this to this? Well, stay tuned because we're about to walk through a case study of a couple who's in their mid-50s and trying to retire with confidence. Hey there, my name is Jacob Duke. I'm a certified financial planner, and in this video, we're going to walk through a case study of this couple in their mid-50s and see, can they retire? So let's go ahead and jump in. So here we can see we've got Tim and Susan, and they're both currently age 55, and they're trying to figure out, Jacob, can we retire right now today at age 55, or will we have to delay it just a little bit longer? Their goal is ultimately, can we retire early? So that's their ages. Now let's take a look at their overall net worth. Right now, they've got around $1.7 million total in all of their assets. Now, what is that made up of? Well, the first thing is they have around $50,000 in cash in their bank account. They've got around $1.2 million in their retirement accounts. And the important thing to know here is that all of that money is in traditional or tax-deferred IRAs or 401ks. So Tim's got $850,000 in his IRA. Susan has $350,000 in her IRA. And then we're going to keep scrolling down to see that they've got a house that's valued at around $500,000, but they still owe $75,000 on this account. And their monthly payment is right at $1,400 per month. So one of the questions they have for me is, should we pay this off right away, or is it necessary to do so to actually be able to retire successfully, or should we just continue paying that monthly payment and pay it off whenever we finally do? So that's one of the big questions they have. So that's their overall asset makeup. Now, one thing that I did want to point out here about their investments in their IRAs is that right now they mentioned, hey, our accounts are invested 50% stock, 50% bonds. So that's what I've got them in the system as right now. So that's for each of their IRAs. They're 50-50 on both. We're going to evaluate, is that the proper allocation for them in terms of building out a successful plan, or should we increase or decrease that at all? Now, that's where their money is. Now, what are their goals? What are they trying to accomplish here? Well, number one is they want to retire at 55. They've already mentioned that, but they're also going to be spending hopefully around $4,500 a month. Now, that $4,500 a month is what they're spending currently today as they live their active lifestyle and doing the things they want to do. That number, though, does not include the $1,400 a month they're spending on their mortgage. So if you add $1,400 to that, that's now $5,900 a month that they're truly spending. So we'll round up to $6,000 per month. So that's where they stand current expenses, but they need around $4,500 a month, just discretionary spending on all the things that they like to do, from food to travel, all those different things. Now, in terms of healthcare costs, if they wanted to retire right now here at 55, well, number one, they're not going to be able to qualify for Medicare until 65. So there's a 10-year gap that we've got to fill in. So I wanted to make sure I factored in the costs for that appropriately. Right now, I've got them spending around $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year on their insurance premiums for private insurance. Obviously, that could be high, could be low. It's really dependent on their health. But I just wanted to give a ballpark number in terms of what I think maybe an average could be based on their age and what they've kind of mentioned about their situation. So that's $24,000 that they're going to spend each year on healthcare premiums. Obviously, that could be increasing over time as those rates go up. And we'll see that here in just a minute. Now, once they do reach, obviously, Medicare age at 65, we're going to have them on Part B, D, and then we're going to have them on a Medigap or Medicare supplement plan. And that's where the other $3,400 or $3,500 comes into play out of pocket for those premiums at that point. So that's their health insurance kind of situation and what we're kind of planning on there. Now, I don't have necessarily any dollars allocated towards a travel budget. We'll see if we can fit that in here later in the plan. But for now, we're not going to have anything allocated towards that at this point. For their income, Tim has been earning around $125,000 per year for the last couple of years. Susan's salary has been $63,000. Now, she had a break there in her working career to raise kids, and so she's back working now, but she has not had a full working career. Therefore, her Social Security will be impacted just slightly. So let's look at Social Security. Tim's expected benefits at 67, which is his full retirement age, will be $3,000 per month. And then Susan's benefit will be around $2,000 per month at 67, going back to, hey, she doesn't have a full period of working years, therefore her benefits will be slightly lower. And for now, I've got each of them taking their benefits at 67, according to basically the base plan that we're going to operate off of. So right now we have them projected to take that at 67. So just real quick, Tim, he's saving 10% to his 401k. Susan's not necessarily saving anything, and we're not saving anything to a taxable account. So right now, the only savings is at 10% going to his 401k. Obviously, that'd stop whenever they decide to retire. So that's the setup. That's the scenario. Let's take a look to see what that retirement plan looks like in terms of a success rate over time. And let's see how we can improve it here. So right away, we can see that 57% of the time they are going to succeed in their retirement plan. Now, what that's really telling us is that out of 1,000 different simulations, 1,000 different possibilities, 57% of the time, they will never run out of money based on how long they expect to live, starting right now today at 55. So I've got them living, I've got Susan living to age 90. I've got Tim living to age 85. Who knows how long they're going to live, but maybe that's an average kind of expectation in terms of life expectancy. So for now, we're going to have them dying at 85 for Tim and 90 for Susan. So based on those dates of death, and then based on retiring at 55, they've got a 57% chance of never running out of money. Now, how can we improve that? That's really what they came to me for, and that's what we're going to look at right now. So the first thing that I'm going to evaluate is 55 is our retirement date age. So what if we increase that to 56? Well, it's not going to really change much because right now they're already halfway through being 55. So if we change this, I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. It doesn't change at all. In fact, I think we'd have to bump it to 57 in order for have any changes here. So right here, you can see if we bump their retirement date from 55, which they're halfway through that, to 57, which is a year and a half from now, we increase their success by a large chunk, by 18%. And what you can see here is that they're going to end up passing away with more money, $373,000 versus $102,000. Now, what that might do is actually give them a little bit more room to spend more each year if they don't want to die with a bunch of money. So that's something to think about as well. But let's continue on here and see, based on their current asset allocation of being 50-50, is that the most optimal for them? What if we tweak that a little bit and make some changes here? So I'm going to bump that from 50-50 to 70% stock. I'm curious if that improves or hurts us at all. Okay, so it goes from 75%, remembering we're bumping that retirement date back a year and a half, goes from 57 by doing two things, delaying retirement by a year and a half, and then increasing our stock allocation from 50% to 70%. We go from 57% chance of success to 82% right off the bat. So two small little changes are already making a big impact. Now, another thing that I want to look at too is right now we're taking their Social Security at 67. Well, what if we decided to take it earlier or later? Let's take a look at that. So the first one is let's bump it all the way to age 70 for both. Now, this is a long ways away because they're going to be retiring early, as we can see already. And it actually reduces their chances of success by just 1%. So it's really not a big change. But one of the things that I don't like about taking it at 70, if you're especially retiring before age 60 in their situation, maybe retiring at 57, is that you've got such a long period of time before you get that fixed income coming in. So instead of age 70, what if we took it at the earliest possible date, being 62? So originally we had 82% here. Let's see if we can change that and it goes positive or negative. Okay, so two things I wanted to point out. First of all, it goes from 82% probability of success to 78% probability of success. So that's a negative thing, right? Or so we think it is. But also what's going to change here is their amount of money that they're going to pass away with is actually going to be increased if markets continue on the averages that we've had over the last 20 or 30 years. Now, why would that be? Well, whenever we actually take our Social Security benefits at 62 instead of 67 or 70, we're starting that fixed income stream a little bit sooner. Therefore, we're not having to pull as much money out of their portfolio to live on. Therefore, you will have more money towards the end of your plan, which could be a good thing from a healthcare cost perspective. So the chances of success decrease slightly, but we offset that maybe with having more potential money at the end of the plan. So I'm just going to tweak this to say, what if we had 80% stock? Does that help at all? Let's refresh this. And it does. So what happens here is whenever we have that fixed income source of Social Security, or if you have a pension or something like that, you actually can give yourself more room to take risk within your asset allocation. So instead of being all cash or all bonds, you can take more risk in your investments because you've got a fixed income. So for example, if you need $5,000 a month and you only have $1,000 you actually have to pull from your portfolio, well, that distribution rate is going to be really low. Therefore, you can afford to actually invest way more aggressively than other people who have to take all $5,000 out of their portfolio and don't have the fixed income sources. So by taking their Social Security slightly earlier at 62, and maybe even somewhere between 62 and 67, they're going to start their fixed income a little bit sooner. Therefore, they don't have to draw their portfolios as far down. So what has this done so far? Based on our base plan that we started with, they would end with around $382,000, assuming that the average investment returns over the next 20, 30 years is going to remain the same. Now, after we've made some of these these changes, we can see that their asset level at the end of life is going to be over $1 million higher. So now what does that afford them the ability to do? Well, maybe we can increase our spending from $4,500 to $5,000 per month. So let's refresh that and see now. So we've drawn down our ending balance, but now because we get to spend more, because we're investing better, we're taking Social Security at a more optimal time for them. Maybe that doesn't mean they're having the highest Social Security benefit, but for them and their overall plan, it could mean the best option to take that at 62. Now they have more opportunity to spend a higher amount each month and enjoy life and do so successfully without running out of money. So by changing their investment allocation from 50% stock to 80% stock, bumping their retirement date back from 55 or halfway through 55 to 57, so about a year and a half, we can increase their spending on a monthly basis by $500, and we could probably even keep going to $5,500 and see how that shakes out towards the end here. So obviously our amount at the end of life is going to be going down, but that just means more living gets to happen. So one final thing that I wanted to look at here is most people do not spend more every single year throughout their entire retirement. So right now we have this calculation showing us an inflation adjusted retirement spending cycle. So that means every single year we're going to be spending more money. Now, is that accurate? I don't think so. Most people spend more in the early years and they spend less kind of in the middle. And then they also spend maybe perhaps more at the end with healthcare costs rising. So what that's called the retirement smile. So let's go ahead and click on that. Let's change that to that spending cycle and refresh this here. And now you're going to see a dramatic increase. So now because of a few small changes, we've gone from 57% chance of success all the way to 92. And yes, I realize that there's an 8% chance there that failure could come into play, but just know that this is a living, breathing kind of plan or organism, if you will. And this is a way for us to say, look, you can't do the same thing month after month, year after year, and expect a good result. We have to respond to the circumstances or the situations around us throughout our retirement because your life's going to change, markets are going to change, taxes are going to change, inflation is going to change, everything's going to be changing. So it's really hard to project and say, hey, this is a perfect retirement plan because it's never going to be perfect. But what this does is this sets us on a trajectory for them to say, here's about how much we can spend. Here's how we maybe need to be invested. Here's maybe when we should take Social Security. And obviously, if their life changes before we get to those kind of milestones, we can adjust and change course as necessary. So they're really confident in this because now they have a plan and kind of a course to go on, but they also understand that this is not the end all be all. This is not something they can say, we're going to do this right now. We're going to do this for the next 30 years and expect a good outcome. We know that there's going to have to be changes and kind of tweaks and adjustments made over time, but this gets us on the right track. Now, one thing I almost forgot to mention was that we're not paying off their mortgage early. That was one of the questions they had. We're just going to pay that off over the next 5 years, as you can see right here. We're going to pay that off just as the note says. So we're not going to necessarily, we're not going to pay it off early because it's not going to help them enough to do so. So we're just going to pay off that house. It's going to be finished out at age 60. After that, they're going to be completely debt free. They're perfectly fine staying where they're at and have no plans to move. So for now, we're going to not pay that house off. We're going to live as they currently are, paying that mortgage every single month. So with that said, let me know down in the comments below if you've enjoyed this video. And if you have, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future case studies like this one. Also, let me know down in the comments if you would like to see a certain or particular type of case study. That way you can evaluate your situation a little bit better. Thanks so much for tuning into the video, and we will see you next time.